no shoes till I saw someone who had no feet. So every time I think we tend to feel that we don't have enough, there is always someone out there who has much, much less. And I think that itself should instill in us a feeling of gratitude, which releases all those happy hormones. You feel really good about it. So I think that's what we're trying to say. Asa, would you like to add something?
Okay. So I think earlier we used to see physical health, mental and emotional health, and spiritual health as completely separate aspects. And of course, now as the years have gone by, science is showing how interconnected everything is. We were talking about obesity earlier. Obesity has a very direct impact even on cognitive function. So your ability to retain information, recall information, and keep track of memories also takes a hit. The new age mantra now is every single day you need a physical win, a mental win, and a spiritual win. And I don't know if Mario has intentionally written his book in a manner that brings all three together, but that's the new age mantra.
I have written as I. Yeah, you're right.
But I want to say something which I learned from a neuro coach who I was honored to interview, and she said something that really pushed my perspective in a very different manner, and it made me respect my own body as a piece of machinery so much. She said that, look, your body is a pharmacy of its own. If you invest in knowledge and you learn how to hack your neurochemicals, how to not wake up to your cortisol shooting through the roof, if you just invest in that knowledge and you learn how to work with your body at a physical level, a spiritual level, at a mental level, you're good to go. You don't need anything more. You will overcome even the worst of depression, which is unfortunately the epidemic that we're facing. It's gone from being a crisis to an official epidemic. So I have always believed that knowledge is power, and I think it's very transformative. And we should really keep in mind that all three work together, all three supplement each other in a very, very strong manner.
Absolutely. Um, yes, I think that deserves a huge round of applause. Mario, we've spoken about so many other things, but one thing in your book is diabetes. India is unflatteringly called the diabetes capital of the world. And there is popular perception that diabetes is irreversible. Okay, Mario, would you like to share your experience in busting this myth?
Yeah. I'm happy to say that I'm not experienced with diabetes, but yes, I'll give you some stats that will probably shock you out of complacency. Do you know that during the Afghanistan-Iraq war with the US, 1,500 American soldiers lost a limb. Okay. But during the same period, 1.5 million Americans lost a limb to diabetes. I'm repeating it. During the war, the Iraq-Afghanistan war, 1,500 American soldiers lost a limb to the war, but 1.5 million Americans lost a limb to diabetes. Now, lest you think we don't have diabetes in India, India is the diabetic capital of the world. And guess what? 90% of the diabetes that we have is type 2 diabetes. And guess what? 90% of that 90% is reversible. 90% of type 2 diabetes is reversible. Now, we'll come to the reversible part of it a little later, but let's understand this, how important it is how difficult diabetes actually is. It starts with diabetes, then diabetes develops a twin brother or sister called cholesterol. Between these two, they end up with hypertension, and then they trigger off cardiovascular disease and strokes. And they say that diabetes also affects things like Alzheimer's, sicknesses like Alzheimer's, etc. Okay? So diabetes is not something to be joked about. It's not something to be taken for granted. But the most important thing is diabetes is reversible. Please understand this. Does it answer your question?
Absolutely. Your experience, you could just share.
Yeah, so I know people who've lost weight, who've stopped eating rice, chapatis, starches, and have got off tablets for sugar, for diabetes. And guess what? After about 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year of stopping these tablets, they have started eating everything again. Some say it is diabetes in remission, but many say it is diabetes that has been reversed. Whichever way you want to look at it, the point is they're not suffering from diabetes. And they are eating everything, obviously in moderation because they know how they suffer, but they are eating it. So diabetes can be reversed.
Supriya, as a diabetes educator, maybe you'd like to come in there.
Yeah, I have this very funny, interaction with a client, which I would like to share here. We all know that diabetes is, a genetic. You have a genetic precondition, like predisposition. If your parents are diabetic, then some people think that if your parents have diabetes, you'll automatically develop diabetes. They are resigned to the fact. That's not the case. And This a client of mine, she came to me and she loves sweets and she used to eat a lot of sweets. And she told me, like, yeah, she obviously came for her, weight gain problems. So when I was asking about her parents, is there diabetes in the family and stuff like that, she said, yeah, both my parents are diabetic. So anyways, in a few years, I'll be getting diabetes. So I love sweets. So before I get diabetes, I want to enjoy all the sweets. So actually, she is working towards getting diabetes instead of, instead of working towards not getting it, doing everything. So what I'm trying to say is, diabetes is a condition which develops over a period of time. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes 10 to 15 years for diabetes to grow into a full-blown disease. So it's very easy to catch it early. Like you test your fasting insulin levels, fasting blood sugar levels regularly every 6 months or every 1 year, and you can catch it early. And HbA1c also, where the lab results give you pre-diabetic level. So if you are anywhere above 5.7 HbA1c, then till you are 6.4, doctors won't give you any medication. So from 5.7, below 5.7, you are normal. 5.7 to 6.4 is the time when you can act on it and reverse it to a normal level. Doctors will just say, take care of your diet. They won't prescribe any medication. Only if you cross a 6.4 or a 6.5 HbA1c will they start with the medication. I would say that period when you are living with that 5.7 to 6.4, where the doctor has to warn you, like, take care of your food so that you don't get there to diabetes. That period is the most risky period, because if you're not taking care of your diet, you're not under medication, as well as you're not taking care of your diet, so you are definite to get to diabetes. But what I'm trying to say here is, like, don't be resigned to the fact just because you are pre-diabetic you are not going to get diabetes. It is not a given that you're not going to get diabetes. You can work towards, it's a warning. So you can work towards, completely being normal and work towards avoiding the situation together. Of course, as he said, even if you get into the zone of being diabetic, it can be reversed. Provided you're not too much, you've not been diabetic for many years, then it is a bit difficult. But if you've just recently been diagnosed as diabetic, it can be reversed. It is possible.
Thank you.
I'd like to just add here that diabetes, I put a sentence here. Sitting is the new smoking. Get out there and walk. Do whatever it takes. So there are 4 things to health. He's put it there in his book. But let's start with nutrition. 80% of your health depends on what you eat. How you eat, when you eat. We get that tackled. Your mind. Keep the stress away. No amount of sugar, chocolates, meetha khana, carb-rich food. Put into a good body that has got great positive thoughts will affect it badly and cause diabetes. So it's not just one thing that causes diabetes. You can control your starches, you can control your sugars, you can do everything right with nutrition. But if your mind is thinking, Baba, my mom had diabetes, I'm going to get it, you're still going to get it even if you don't have those chocolates. So it is about everything coming together. It's not just one thing. What you eat, how you think, your mind, and then what you do with your life. Having a great purpose in life, again. Find a purpose, you'll get up with that excitement in the morning. You won't feel your life drabby. So doing these few things will keep you reversing diabetes, not getting diabetes. And in the end, I say fitness with working out is the last thing. Because imagine if I send an obese person to the gym and tell him, please, you need to work out. You've got a lot of weight on you, you need to work out. He's not going to have the energy, he doesn't have the willpower, and he's not going to be, his journey talks about it. His journey talks about it, that he kept doing it, but he didn't lose weight. So what was the, inflection point? What was it when you decided in your mind? So never just, okay, I'm obese, I'll hit the gym, I'll lose weight, will not happen. First, get your diet right. Begin to get nutrient-rich, energy-rich food so that you can go to the gym. Get your mindset right. Get a coach who will help you find what is I think the single most important thing for all of us is to find a purpose in life. Find your purpose. Most of us live a life like, Buddha said it once that most of us are just living. We are not awake. We're not awakened. We're just existing. So begin to live a life. Find a life of purpose. What we do for ourselves is considered bad karma. What we do for others is considered good karma. So find that purpose. Who you want to do for, what you want to do. And you'll immediately up your game. Mentally, you'll become a lot more calmer, happier. The minute you do some good deed, one good deed a day, you'll find a lot more love within yourself. So food, mental health being right, and after that, you go to the gym. You have love around your life, and then you go and work out in the gym like he did, and you'll shed those kgs, and you won't get any metabolic disorder, whether it's diabetes, cardiovascular health, which is linked to it. I'll just share, if I can, one small thing that's been done on cancer research today. A walk in the woods today says that it can give you the same drugs that chemotherapy gives you, just walking in the woods. Because the forest, pine trees, trees that grow up in the mountains, they release polyphenols, they release antioxidants besides releasing oxygen. But how many of us living in these, tier 1 cities or tier 2 cities even walk on the ground bare feet? The minute we learn to do those basics, why is cancer a disease of today and it wasn't so prevalent in the past? Because we don't walk, we don't ground ourselves with soil. So walk on the soil. They've done this research with cancer, something where they put a few hamsters and mice in one room and a few others in another, 2 control groups, and they injected all of them with carcinogens. A few months later, both the groups had cancer. That's when they started giving chemotherapy drugs to one group, and in the other group they did not give any medication, but for 2 hours those animals were petted and loved. Somebody went to just hold them, talk to them with love. The guys who were in this room, where they didn't get any medicine but only love and care, healed better than the guys who were with chemotherapy drugs. So that says a lot about where we need to place love, relationships in our life. Today, I think, Asta, the single most important thing that is missing is real relationships. Everybody is on social media. They have social media friends, but no real friends to hold them, to talk to them. So I think it's the way we are living. If we begin to change that, we are human, we're social animals. We're not meant to live singularly. So, and loneliness is a number one killer. It kills more than the cigarettes. It just doesn't come with that, thing attached to it that smoking kills. So go out there, form meaningful relationships, eat with your friends, eating a few chocolates, eating the right things which make you feel good is never going to harm you. But watching on it thinking, oh, I don't have this, and I don't, that same thing what you're eating will cause disease.
If I may add to what the good Dr. Nitika said, uh, we try to love other people. We try to get love from other people. But what we forget is that we need to love ourselves, not in a very selfish way. But the minute you learn to love yourself and your cup starts overflowing with love, then you can share it with others. So when you love yourself, you look at your plate and you say, does my food love me? Because if it doesn't love me, then I don't want to eat it. When I go out, is this company good for me? If it isn't, then I don't want to go there. It's not selfish. It's just that I've learned to love myself. I think each of us, not in a selfish way, has to first learn to love ourselves.
Okay, Mario's mentioned quite a lot about gut health in his book. Would any of you like to talk about gut health? Sequeira?
There are some very subtle sentences in Mario's book, which, like one instance, and which is connected to gut health is important things for mental health, that is the heading. And the first thing he's put it out is take care of your gut. So it may seem very out of place, but that's so true. Gut is a place, it's almost like it's called the second brain, and it secretes your feel-good hormone, serotonin. It has, you all know that it houses all the bacteria which does all the good things to our, secretes all the good substances, and we all know that. But do you know how many of people out there are suffering from bad gut health? You'll be really shocked to know that. Especially in the corporate world, most of them, all my corporate clients, 90% of them have gut issues. Why? It is related to stress. Number one is related to stress. Number two is they don't have time to work out. Exercise is not part of their routine. Number three is sleep is not proper. Then comes food, I would say. Some carry food from home, some don't carry, they'll have to order in things that they have no control over what they are ordering, what they are eating, what time they are eating. All this affects the gut, and that affects all the other things. It affects it is a vicious cycle. So this affects that. So once the gut is not okay, then it starts affecting the sleep, and then the person will have everything possible in their life, money, good family, everything. But gut is one thing which troubles them, and that is all because of what has been the food intake till now, and also not identifying things which you don't that doesn't agree with you. That all comes to, at the end of the day, mindful eating. So you don't concentrate on what is going in. So you don't know, you just eat for the sake of it. Then all these things are affected.
Okay, we're coming to the close of the discussion, but we're going to throw it open to our audience. If you have any questions, keep them ready. We're going to come to you with those questions. I'm going to ask each of the panelists to mention their own key takeaway from Mario's books. We'll start with Asta. One biggest takeaway or takeaways?
I think the one biggest takeaway for me, which would apply to all aspects of wellness, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, is conscious effort. I come from a generation which is the instant validation generation. We were speaking about diabetes earlier. I was discussing with Sequeira, where now we're talking about the miracle drug Ozempic, where it enables people to eat all the junk in the world and inject themselves, and wow, I'm still losing weight. So we're living in times where we all prefer to take the path of least resistance, but it never ends up well. So if there's one takeaway that I have from this book and that I would love for everyone to keep in mind is, any form of wellness will take conscious effort, whether you call it conscious effort, awareness, mindfulness. You have to take charge of your life and say, is this what I really need to eat? Am I running away from loneliness? Do I need to understand that this is just a distraction for me right now, and I should sit with my feelings no matter how uncomfortable they are, and ask myself why I'm feeling this way? So I think that's the one takeaway for me, conscious effort. There's no running away from conscious effort.
Dr. Nitika Modi.
I think the chapter on epigenetics, I think that's really brilliant because we're taking back the control of our life in our hands, and we can't say anymore that our family is predisposed to this condition. And there's so much conversation at present in the medical fraternity about epigenetics and how genes can transform. Even like you see that in siblings, one sibling will be absolutely healthy and the other will have baap dada sab logon ke bimari. There must be something they're not doing right. So the fact that we can control our genes, yes, I think that's very well written and well done for bringing that into this.
Supriya.
Yeah, for me, it would be, she said conscious effort. I would say it is being very persistent about the efforts too. Consciously trying to find what is right for you is one thing, but following it up for a prolonged period of time, not giving up, is very, very important, and it is what is lacking because people know what they want to do, they take help, but they won't persist with it because they lose faith in what they are doing. But results come only with persistent efforts, long-term efforts, and I think that was one thing which I would like the readers to take away from it. That it's not going to happen overnight, and you make all the good efforts, but please persist with it. So it need not be following all 100% of what is right for you. You may follow just 75%, but if you follow it for a long time, for a longer time, then you are definitely going to hit the results.
Okay, questions from the audience. Anybody has any questions, just raise your hand. Yeah, okay. We'll have the lady first.
Thank you. I was very moved with one sentence that Dr. Nitika Modi said, I think you're quoting the scriptures or the older sort of philosophy of the Hindu philosophy, that when you're doing karma for others, that is good karma, and when you're doing karma for yourself, it is bad karma. Now, I happen to be Asta's mother, and we as mother and daughter often have this debate that, the problem, I keep like a very normal lecturing mother tell her, that the problem with your generation is you all are always thinking of yourselves. Not
Blaming
about
everything
others.
on their parents.
Exactly. I mean, that is part
I
of
don't do
it.
that.
But the whole giving attitude, the whole attitude of submission and acceptance and not fighting for things for yourself, do you think that attitude, which is very different in today's generation, as compared to what it was perhaps in my generation, has also in some way contributed to this stress, depression, loneliness, and all the evils that we are talking about?
Very valid question. I think it's a lot to do with a feeling of less. They don't have enough self-love. They, for them to love, and I'm not quoting each person, each of you all, but most of it is to do with that we feel incomplete. This generation feels that they're lacking something because they're in constant competition. There's always something they haven't done, they haven't achieved, they haven't got. Their sense of relevance comes from what they owe or what they own or what they have or what they've achieved. They just cannot learn to be just happy with nothing. So it's just that, and that comes from grounding, the kind of upbringing we give our children. I think it's more a failure on our generation than their generation. I think we have been so happy to accept and adopt the ways of the West that we're trying to educate our children and everything about that. And in that, we're moving them more and more away from our cultural roots, which actually are so deep. If you remain, like a tree only grows well when it's rooted to its trunk, when it's rooted in deep. The branches will fall off if there's no rooting. So somewhere as parents, we need to take cognizance of the fact that what have we done wrong, and please, this generation, forgive us and implement where we fell wrong and do that for your next generation, because we still have hope. I mean, let's get ourselves rooted back to where we come from. We have a lot that we have got in books and in lots of depths and knowledge that our seers have left us. Let's have that, let's embrace that. The West is coming towards the East, and unfortunately, we are trying to mimic the West. So I think that's the thing. We don't want to go the Norway way, the Scandinavian way, where there's so much more mental health there because they're so alone. It again comes down to a feeling